My name is Leïla, and I'm an addict. And finally saying it out loud was like the best thing that ever happened to me. The fight I had put up to find a way around it lasted decades and cost me so much pain. So I'm Leïla and I'm an addict, and in these rooms I finally learned that nothing and no one made me this way. Whatever I'm about to tell you over the next 20 minutes or so is the personal manifestation of our common disease. Because if it's not my father's or my mother's or that like mean teacher's fault that I'm an addict, my recovery also does not depend on them, because that would be terrible news to me. I get to be responsible for it. Choosing for my recovery is in my own hands. Little did I know, though, that on the other side of saying I'm Leïla and I'm an addict, I wouldn't find the abyss of eternal misery I had fabricated in my mind throughout all of those years, which would confirm my innermost fear of not good enoughism, but rather the life that I always sought to have in the first place and that I tried to get to by using, actually. And I used to hunt for like scraps of connection in any possible way. Like all week, I would look forward to the weekend when I could like do drugs and go hang out in the smoker's room and wait patiently for other people who did drugs to come in and sit with me to reveal like all of their emotions and like their inner child and their trauma and whatever else. So we could share like a moment from the outside world inside here. So in that world, we could like skip the small talk and get to the good stuff. Yeah. So the best connection I could hope for was fake. So ever since we were driving here and we were singing to the Spice Girls in the car. And we were 4 people in the car, 3 of which were not born when that song came out. And one was late and had missed her train, and we all drove there together. And then I was here on time, you know. And that's what it means to be there for one another, for me. And that's something I never had before. I tried to imitate it. I had friends. We did karaoke. But the whole time I was like, when are they going to find out who I really am and run away, right? Whereas now I get to be myself. My mom is French. My dad is German of Turkish descent. Did not teach me Turkish. Had a lot of trauma involved in immigration. I grew up moving from Germany to the States and back to Germany and back to the States. Spoke French at home. It's my mother tongue. And then Canada and Paris, and then I decided it's all the people, places, and things. I'm going to move to the Netherlands because that's my solution, and I'm going to learn Dutch, and I'm going to stay here, and it's going to be great. It was terrible. I didn't know anybody. I used more. I was more isolated, yeah. But my rock bottom came much more quickly, and so then I had taken Dutch lessons, and I did my best for that, and the plan became clear now, but not then. I grew up feeling like kind of George Orwell's Big Brother, kind of, you know, everybody wakes up and they hear the speakers, and the speakers say, this is how you make friends, and this is what you're gonna do today, and this is when you can get angry, and this is when you laugh. And I would wake up 5 minutes late, and I missed the memo. I would go to school, and I'd be like, how do you know how to make friends? How do you know that it's okay to be angry now? Because they wouldn't get in trouble. But when I got angry, it was never the right time. And I was a small child, and I really didn't understand anything. I felt like every day I would try again. And, you know, people would be like, hey, welcome to our school. And I moved a lot, and like, this is what we do, and these are our Legos. And I'd be like, they hate me. They're going to find out who I am. You know, it was always like that, kind of. And again, can't tell you why. It's just always been like that. But at home, the love I grew up with was very conditional. And that's something I'm unlearning now. I've been clean since the 1st of September, 2021. So it's been 3 years and 4 months, 5 months. And now still I am untangling the kind of conditional love I grew up with. But thanks to, it would have never happened if I didn't find the blueprint of life. Honestly, like, well, in this book, but it saved my life. And so every experience was really painful when I was a child, and I wouldn't understand. And what I didn't know is I was putting them all in this backpack, and I was carrying them around. I didn't let them go. There would be a new day, and I wouldn't see the pain anymore, but it's because it was on my back. And then the backpack started getting really heavy because I never emptied it, and I was walking around tired and restless, irritable, and discontented, and I couldn't tell you why. And it's because I had a huge backpack I wasn't letting go of, but I couldn't see it, right? And being rejected, more pain, not understanding, more pain, moving again, more pain. And it became so heavy. From as long as I can remember, I used to steal people's favorite things, their favorite pen, because it made them so happy. Like, that's super weird to do, right? I was like 5 years old, and I had at home like this treasure behind my bed of like everybody's favorite things. And I don't know, like, I don't even know why I was doing that, but I was. Maybe it would make me happy or it'd make them sad, and then we could connect, on something. And I would be helping them to find their things too, like a good friend, I was lying for as long as I can remember. Even if I didn't have to, I think I'd have to because it's me. So I'm probably doing something bad. And at some point I really just needed attention more. So I started lying a lot. And then came boys' attention very quickly when I was quite young, like 11 or 12. And out of all the dopamine hits, that was the biggest one to date. But when that started creating a lot of pain, because I wasn't living a life of dignity, I was really selling myself for like a little bit of attention. It wasn't who I was. And when I kept on putting that pain on my backpack, that's when drugs came along. And I knew from the moment I started, like, I pretended like I knew what I was doing. I was 14, I'm like, give that to me, And I was like, I'm gonna be the best at this. Why on earth, right? Like, people want to grow up to be something else than a really good drug-using person. But for some reason, since I didn't believe I could be anything else, for me, that was the road. I'm going to be the best at this. I was in a 15-hour sort of comatose state after having a joint that I pretended I smoked all the time. And I was like, I'm going to do this again. That was great. It was terrible. And I had to lie to my mom from the get-go. But it was the longest break of life I had gotten till then. Attention didn't do it. But this gave me hours. But it also led to having to lie and having to not be myself even more, actually. And we kept on moving. And basically, by the end of me being a teenager, I had been abused because of under the influence. I had lost all my friends. My mother couldn't trust me. She repeated it every day. I ran away from home. I got kicked out of school. And yet, and so all of those things were the problem. The school, the mom, the place I lived in, your shoes, like everything was the problem. Besides the thing that gave me relief, I got a daily reprieve contingent on how many drugs I used in a day. And that was my solution. What happened when I moved to Canada, my mom entrusted me with my little sister who was 17 at the time. And I met a guy who liked to fraud credit cards that he bought on the dark web. And I thought, I have to have this guy, right? That's awesome. He's such a bad boy. And we went to jail. And I didn't expect that because I'd never really had a problem with the law and with anything. But suddenly I was sitting in a maximum security cell, did not know who knew if I was there. And I got really, really scared because I didn't realize how serious things could get. And because I never, ever thought about the consequences of my actions. And my sister lived for weeks at my house having to lie to my mom not knowing where I was. And you know, and suddenly it had a big impact on people. Both of their visas got held in Canada because of this. So everybody found out at my mom's job, which was the French embassy as well. And I was sitting there and I tried to read the Bible and it didn't work for me. And then I found a book called Where Flies Don't Land. And it was about a guy who kept on getting in trouble and kept on pulling people with him and didn't know why he was doing it. And he kept on using drugs. And I read that book in my cell. It was the first time in my life where I felt, I understand this person. This person is speaking to me. And that man had a God experience in his jail cell. And I thought, I'm going to pray. And that was 14 years ago. That was my first attempt to a real contact with a higher power and then life. And then I got out. And so the consequence wasn't so big. I just had to leave the country forever. Canada was the problem. And so I got to France and it just got worse. Yeah. Yeah. It just really, it got worse, but it became so normal that I would study. I have a master's degree. I used to black out 3 times per week, so I had to compensate. And I was a school teacher, just so I could tell the world that I'm okay, you know. So it was just really, really hard. And then, the abuse continued, and I had broken hearts, you know. Nobody would stay around. And then I moved to the Netherlands because I thought, those are all people who don't know me yet. But it got worse, as I said. And then after some time, the drinking, it really got out of hand a lot. And at a primary school, that's not great. And so then I decided to quit drinking because that was my problem. And the clinic agreed, right? And so when I quit that, because my rock bottom was quite intense in there, but I hadn't lost anything yet, but that for me was the furthest I've ever been. And so I quit, and the dopamine of quitting and everybody being like, that's so great, you know, that's great, good on you. And I was like, yeah. And after 3 months, I was like, I can't breathe. This is worse. And I hate it. What's wrong with me? And the clinic said, well, drinking's your problem, so everything else isn't. And I was like, that's right. I can do everything else, you know, which I then did. And then I lost everything. I lost my job, and it just went from bad to worse. And then COVID came, and suddenly I was 50 kilos, and I was living in my attic because I had roommates who were working from home, whom I did not tell that I was an addict until they signed the lease. I did a step 9 2 days ago with one of them. And I would just use in my attic, and I looked like shit, and I didn't want to go outside anymore. And I would pee in glass pots and not go see the outside world. And I would look at myself in the mirror, and I really understood suddenly how the person under the bridge and me, those weren't 2 different people. I finally understood how you get there. I looked at myself and I thought, shit, this is how it happens. This is exactly how it happens. And it never hit me from like the top of my arrogance mountain that could be me. And then I just didn't know what to do. And I went to detox for 2 weeks, and I came out and I was healed. And I took a dog and I took a boyfriend. And that went really badly. I couldn't keep the boyfriend, and I did keep the dog, but it led to a lot of relapses. And then the clinic offered me a controlled use type. And I thought, that's great. Yeah, no, because I mean, or else I'd be like a fail number, right? So, and the relapse was so bad, and I went to France, and I came back on the day, and then I got a text message from God. I kid you not, because I was there, and I was like, I don't know what's going to keep me from using today. I don't know. And then I get a notification that says, hey, how are you doing? I'm part of like a clubje where nobody uses. It's like Best Gezellig. It's a worldwide fellowship, spoiler alert. But she was like, there's an online women's meeting tonight at 7. And I thought, I don't need to decide anything. I'll wait till 7. And I got on that meeting and I was like, oh my God, these people. And I couldn't get it. And that was it for me. I have to say, I was so bankrupt that was my solution. And how much time do I have left? Like 5 minutes. Okay, shit. Okay. But that's when I finally felt I had arrived home. So for me, there was no doubt, and I'm very grateful for that. I had tried everything. I'd been in therapy for 6 years too, I didn't mention, but the whole time I was seeking the solution, and it wasn't. And it was really hard. And when I came in here, people who were so open, somebody admitted they were relieved after their mom passed away so they could use more, and they just said it in a meeting, right? And I thought, I don't need to stand in the smoker's corner at the club anymore. Like here, people are opening up their deepest, darkest, truest, you know, and these are my people. And they're Dutch, and they all speak Dutch. And they're my people, they're my family. And every single day since, there hasn't been a day where I doubted that this was the place I needed to be. I have doubted my strength and my ability. It turns out there's a higher power I plug into because I can't do it on my own strength. I have had amazing people around me. Steps 1, 2, and 3, I've heard, and this resonates. It's like Google Maps. Step 1 is saying, I don't know how to get home. I don't know how to get home to Haarlem after this meeting. I don't know, I'm lost. Step 2 is coming to believe that a power outside or greater than myself, such as Google Maps, will bring me home. And I do believe that without knowing how it works. I never asked myself how it worked, ever, right? I don't understand it, but I fully believe that it can. And step 3 for me is then pressing start, and I don't know the whole thing. I just go left, right, left, right. And so the fact that I doubted that a higher power could do that, whereas every day I use Google Maps, was a big slap in the face for me, because I do that with certain things. And I try to apply it that way every day because it's needed every day. But my biggest relief had to be step 4, where all that therapy and everything that kind of neat worked, you know, compounded, because I could give things a place. Because there is no fault. Because if there are faults, we can be busy with it my whole life, and that's what I'm going to do, you know. But am I contributing to harmony in my life with you, to connection, to a higher power? And parts help me compartmentalize things so that I can see what I do. And then I get to look at it. And we don't ask for it to be taken away and then it goes away. Spoiler alert, we basically let them come up and then see them and deal with them. And I've shared my list of character defects with friends so that they could help me as well. Like, I never thought I'd be so open about all my defects, which I kind of see as shortcomings, you know. If I'm not having faith, I'm on the scale of fear. But if I'm not fearing, then I'm closer to faith. And it's a balance, an everyday one. I think becoming willing to make amends has also been hard, because my mother, for instance, has refused to. She's not ready. And I found that was not cool of her. But that's my ego speaking, whereas, you know, whenever she's ready, I'm not doing it for her or just for me. And so I think out of all the things and practicing these principles and getting to see them, the program has given me a bridge to a higher power I always needed, to fill the God-shaped hole that nothing else can fill, but also to just learn how to be myself, and then being able to be with you. And there's a blueprint for it. I don't need the memo. I don't need anything. And the biggest part of it is to be able to share it and to help others go through that. Like things, like the miracles that happen before my eyes are, you know, it's just incredible. And 4 of the miracles are here today. And I'm just so really grateful. I was so nervous, and now that I'm at the end, I'm really not anymore, but it was very nerve-wracking, because I don't know you, but in the end, we're a family. So thank you so much. Yeah.